Hi, I'm Kameron DeVasher, and today I want to tell you about one of my Advent pioneer heroes, Elder John Burden. Now, while many of us may not know who he is today, at his time he was actually one of the most frequent recipients of a letter from Mrs. White. But unlike some of the other frequent recipients, like her son Willie White or Uriah Smith of the Adventist Review or Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, John Burden had the distinction of being the only person not to receive any rebuke. In fact, Elder Burden apparently was a simple man, but he was a bold man, and whatever the Lord told him to do, he did it, and the results were incredible. As a newlywed and recent graduate of Healdsburg College, or today known as Pacific Union College, young John Burden was appointed manager of the Rural Health Retreat, later called the St. Helena Sanitarium, in 1891. After 10 years of hospital administration in St. Helena, the Burdens were called to Australia, where they helped Merritt Kellogg, stepbrother of the much more famous Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, establish a sanitarium that is today Sydney Adventist Hospital. 3 years after that, in 1904, the Burdens returned to the United States. Now, at that time, anyone who was in hospital administration work would most logically go to Battle Creek, Michigan, where the sanitarium Dr. Kellogg and his workers were. But the Lord had other plans, and Sister White encouraged them to move to another medical missionary field in Southern California, because the Lord had been preparing a work for that place for several years before. You see, 2 years earlier, in 1902, Mrs. White wrote to then General Conference President A.G. Daniels, saying, "Brother Daniels, constantly the Lord is keeping Southern California before me as a place where we must establish medical institutions. Every year this region is visited by many thousands of tourists. Sanitariums must be established in this section of the state." She would explain, "I have been shown that in Southern California there were properties for sale on which buildings are already erected that could be utilized for our work, and that such properties will be offered to us at much less than their original cost." In 1904, the first of such properties was purchased for the purpose of establishing a medical institution, an abandoned resort called Paradise Valley. The 50-acre property included a 3-story building with 50 rooms, a 6-room cottage, and a goods stable just 7 miles outside of San Diego, and was originally offered for a mere $20,000. Now, of course, in that day, $20,000 was a whole lot of money. After a month of inaction by the Southern California Conference, Ellen White and an equally concerned friend, Sister Godzian, combined their own funds to secure the property for a mere $4,000. Paradise Valley Hospital operated as a Seventh-day Adventist health institution for over 100 years, and still to this day it provides health care services for many people in and around the San Diego area. The Paradise Valley experience, however, taught Sister White a valuable lesson. If things were to get done in a timely manner as the Lord had wanted, she needed a strong ally on the ground. And for that ally, she turned to John Burden. Just outside of Los Angeles, California, Brother Burden discovered the Glendale Hotel. Though originally costing some $40,000 to build in 1886, its asking price at that time was only $20,000. After they finally settled on a price of $12,500, John Burden was appointed manager. The Glendale Sanitarium continues to minister to people today as the Glendale Adventist Medical Center, or actually Advent Health Glendale, and it includes 8 centers of excellence in different medical specialties. But we need to back up a little bit. Before the purchase of any of these health institutions began, Sister White was given a vision. On October 10, 1901, Mrs. White records in her journal that the Lord had shown her one particular property. She described how in vision she seemed to be living there and watching patients sitting in wheelchairs, outdoors, under shade trees that seemed to form tent-like canopies. So, at the same time that Paradise Valley and Glendale sanitariums were being purchased and opened, Ellen White urged the establishment of yet another sanitarium in Southern California, as neither of the other recently acquired properties quite matched the vivid image Mrs. White had been shown in vision. While attending the General Conference of 1905 at Washington, D.C., I received a letter from Elder J.A. Burden describing a property he had found 4 miles west of Redlands, 5 1/2 miles southeast of San Bernardino, and 8 miles north of Riverside. As I read his letter, I was impressed that this was one of the places I had seen in vision, and I immediately telegraphed him to secure the property without delay. As a sanitarium site, the property was a valuable one. The grounds have been carefully laid out, and at great expense to the original owners, and are beautified by well-kept lawns and flower gardens. The extensive view of valley and mountain is magnificent. Now, ideal as this new property was, one major drawback was the price. You remember the Southern California Conference leadership had balked at paying $12,500 for Glendale or even $6,000 for Paradise Valley. Those amounts paled in comparison to what was being asked for Loma Linda. Though built for $155,000, the sale price started at a mere $110,000. It eventually dropped to $85,000, then again dropped to as low as $45,000. At this point, Elder Burden asked what would be the rock bottom price, and he was told $40,000. Quickly, he wrote to Ellen White to get counsel. Your letter has just been read. I had no sooner finished reading it than I said, I will consult no one, for I have no question at all about the matter. Secure the property by all means, so that it can be held, and then obtain all the money you can and make sufficient payments to hold the place. This is the very property we ought to have. Do not delay, for it is just what is needed. We will do our utmost to help you raise the money. With steadfast trust in Sister White's counsel, Elder Burden did as he was told and scrounged up $1,000 for a deposit on the property. And on May 29, 1905, he signed papers committing to the purchase. Local Adventist members gave another $4,000 to complete the first payment on June 15. Additional payments were due in July, August, and December, with the balance to be secured by a 3-year mortgage. On July 26, 1905, the due date for the second payment, the Conference Committee of the Southern California Conference met an emergency session in Los Angeles. The second installment of $5,000 was due at 2 p.m. that day, and they didn't have a penny of it. Some members again were openly critical of the plan to purchase the property. John Burden later reported that the intensity of feelings was running high and that they were in deep perplexity. Someone suggested that the troubled group should wait for the morning mail, and soon they heard the postman's feet coming up the stairway. The mail included a letter from a woman in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The sender was unknown to anyone on the committee and is still unknown to anyone to this day. Inside was a note saying, I do not know what your immediate need is, but if this will help, use it. And a bank draft for $5,000, the exact amount needed just 4 hours later. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. Elder Burden later testified that it was solemn as the judgment day. We then took new courage as we felt that our Lord was going before us. Just as Ellen White had predicted, more money came from unexpected sources. Through a series of truly remarkable providences, the entire sum was paid in full within another 6 months, bringing a discount of $1,100. Thus, for a total purchase price of $38,900 plus $7,000 in interest and taxes, Southern California Adventists now possess their third property for medical missionary work. 2 weeks after John Burden signed those papers for the Loma Linda property, Ellen White visited it for the first time. Arriving with her son by express wagon from Redlands, she looked at the main building and said, Willie, I've been here before. No, Mother, Willie responded, you've never been here. Then this is the very place the Lord has shown me, for it is all very familiar. John Burden was critical to the establishment of multiple health institutions for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and his legacy lives on to this day. But there's one last legacy that John Burden left us, and that was not just for large-scale denominational or institutional work, but it was that of personal ministry. You see, Elder Burden's final post of duty was not as a hospital administrator, but as a hospital chaplain, ministering to medical students and community members. And instead of passing away peacefully in some seaside resort, as he very well could have, Elder Burden died when he was struck by a car in Redlands, California, walking back from a Bible study he had given in someone's home. You see, it's tempting to think that all of the work of the great Seventh-day Adventist movement is done now by institutions and large organizations and committees and structures, and as important as all of those things are, Elder Burden understood that the core of our work is personal labor. That for all of the medical institutions and all of the church structures and organizational bodies and entities and charities and committees, the heart of the three angels' message is to be given by three angels' messengers, individual committed lay members who will go door to door, house to house, to their neighbors, their friends, their co-workers, and give the gospel message one by one in personal ministry. Friends, I would encourage you, yes, give to the large structures, yes, help the cause in those denominational ways, but personally, don't ever forget that the Lord has called each one of us to be a missionary for Him.